How do we account for wealth? Historically, nations compared the size and strength of their land, trade, monarchy, military, or industry against other rival nations. Then in the 1930s, the development of national income and product accounts led to the creation of GDP and GDI. While most countries use GDP as an indicator of economic well-being, GDP primarily measures national income. Critical components of national wealth, such as natural capital, are poorly accounted for within the limited scope of GDP, making it an incomplete measure of a nation's welfare. This traditional undervaluation of nature has created enormous externality costs on human health and livelihoods, national economies, and the environment. The United Nations first recognized that stocks of natural capital were in serious decline at the 1949 UN Scientific Conference on the Conservation and Utilization of Resources, held to specifically address the exhaustion of the world's essential natural resources. Bolstered by the growing environmental movement, rising inequality, and resource scarcity, the UN embarked on a multi-decade effort to tackle this challenge. The goal was simple: safeguard the natural resources that sustain the food security, health, livelihoods, and wealth of all the world's inhabitants. Following the Rio Summit and Agenda 21, signatories consolidated these efforts by agreeing to develop a better system of environmental accounting, eventually leading to the system of environmental economic accounting used today. Building on this momentum as the century turned, a sea change in mindset away from a limited income-centric approach to wealth takes hold, catalyzing landmark international initiatives, summits, and UN programs. These efforts help to solidify a growing recognition that although centuries of population and industrial growth had catapulted GDP globally, natural capital, a critical stock of assets inadequately captured in GDP, had declined rapidly. This economic invisibility of nature is at the core of the global crisis. Fortunately, decades of research on wealth accounting produced more comprehensive definitions of wealth that move beyond annual income flows and GDP, such as those reflected in the 2012 UN Inclusive Wealth and the World Bank's Changing Wealth of Nations reports. By 2015, the pressing need for new tools that account, explain, and estimate the effects of policy decisions on economic and environmental interactions led to the development of the Integrated Economic Environmental Modeling Platform. EEM accounts for the invisibility of nature by representing the quantity and value of natural resources used in economic processes and by generating indicators that go beyond GDP. And what truly sets EEM apart is its integration of rich environmental data based on the system of environmental economic accounting, its customized environmental modeling modules that represent the dynamics of environmental resources and their use, and EEM's indicators capture impacts on wealth, the foundation of the economic development prospects of a country. For example, utilizing Guatemala's natural capital accounts, EEM's forward-looking analyses enabled Guatemalan policymakers to understand the full range of economic and environmental implications of the country's fuelwood and forest incentive strategies. Results generated with EEM are critical inputs into the policy cycle, both in the identification and design of policy options, as well as in the ongoing evaluation of policy implementation. EEM revealed gaps between specific SDG targets and the lines of action and investment the Guatemalan government pursued, while simultaneously facilitating enhanced transparency and prioritization of objectives during the agenda-setting phase of the policy cycle. EEM's integrated approach also revealed synergies where one line of action could promote multiple SDGs or conversely create negative outcomes. For example, agricultural expansion led to higher rates of deforestation and greenhouse gas emissions, highlighting the need for complementary and mitigating policies. EEM's application to Guatemala demonstrated how it transforms the decision-making paradigm by providing an evidence base, so policymakers no longer have to base policy on conventional analysis and indicators that can be misleading and result in inappropriate policy decisions. Recent analysis utilizing the EAM platform to evaluate post-conflict land use trajectories in Colombia is another case in point. Results showed that if deforestation driven by agricultural expansion were to increase, the economy as understood through GDP would grow faster. However, the insight afforded by EAM's more robust indicators showed that while GDP might grow faster in the short run, Colombia's overall wealth and development prospects would in fact decline. More nuanced analysis with EAM also demonstrated that policies aimed at reducing deforestation and investing in agricultural productivity would provide double dividends and enhance well-being and equality in this critical post-conflict period. Building on this momentum, EAM platforms are now being developed rapidly throughout Latin America, the Caribbean region, and beyond. Once EAM platforms and local capacity are developed for countries, they will continuously provide key inputs into the policy cycle, offering an evidence base which elevates the discourse on complex policy issues, policy alternatives, and implementation options, and the ongoing evaluation of policy performance. The challenge now is to generate awareness of EAM's integration with natural capital accounts and the power of EAM as a platform for evidence-based policy design, so that countries are motivated to develop their own natural capital accounts and EAM platforms. By explicitly accounting for natural capital in decision-making, EAM ensures that our policy advice and design considers both current and future sustainability. What would the world look like if nature were accounted for? We now have the tools that can safeguard natural capital and ensure the wealth and well-being for generations to come.